Hi friends, Sutra here, and I'm back with another video. And today we're going to be reacting to some woke TikToks. And I just want to thank everybody who has subscribed to this channel, which is, I guess, only one person at this point. But I just want to thank everybody who's taken the time to watch. You are awesome, and I wouldn't be doing this channel without you guys. So let's get it.
Well, do you know what the leading cause of death for pregnant people is?
Pregnant people?
Mm-hmm.
Mothers? Women?
If you'd like to call them mothers, not all of them are mothers, but if you'd like to call them that.
What are they if they're not mothers?
They're pregnant people.
What people other than mothers are pregnant?
Does it bother you to use inclusive language?
Well,
it's just interesting.
I prefer to use precise language.
It's interesting because you come into this conversation, trying to hold this moral superiority, but then
I try to be moral when I can, but
Right, but when I use inclusive language, which it only takes a couple extra syllables to use inclusive language,
to include
and
who?
It seems to include people who don't, identify as women but can become pregnant.
So, like a person who's born a woman and then identifies as a man and is pregnant.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that in order to be a moral person, I need to accept the idea that a man, someone who is born a man and looks like a man, can really become a woman. That's a prerequisite of my being a moral person.
Okay, is it moral superiority to recognize facts? It's the womb that differentiates a woman from a man, and that's very clear in the word itself. I also wanted to point out too that she says that it only takes a couple extra syllables to use inclusive language, but yet by calling women and mothers birthing people, you're literally putting down women and diminishing the fascination of being a woman. And I think that's coming from a woman in the video. I mean, that's crazy. Let's continue.
Guys, take a look at the clown world that we're living in. This is 26-year-old female Hannah Tubbs. Roughly 8 years ago, Hannah's name was James, and James walked into a women's restroom at Denny's and sexually assaulted a 10-year-old girl. James was just 2 weeks shy of 18 when he committed this crime. It would go on to become a cold case, but he's now recently been arrested and pled guilty to it. This is what he had to say when he got on a phone call with his father from jail.
On probation, and it's going to be dropped. It's going to be done. I won't have to register. I won't have to nothing.
For an offender, you don't have to register?
I won't have to do none of that.
So what are they going to do to you then?
Nothing.
26-year-old Hannah was right, only received a sentence of 2 years in a juvenile facility. At 26 years old, think about that. And this could become as little as 6 months. Plus, he won't have to register as a sex offender. Utter clown world, and this is not a qualm that I have with the transgender community. It's a qualm that I have with men who use that label to their benefit. For all we know, living in the state of California, Hannah here could be placed in a female facility.
That is frightening. Honestly, I feel so awful for that little girl's family. I mean, I think that's a huge loophole in the system, that juveniles can actually get off if they're on youth authority. So like in Oregon, it's OYA, Oregon Youth Authority. And I think those prisons that house long-term juveniles, I think can go up to 25. I just think that this man is using the LGBTQ community and the label as a shield, and a shame on the justice system to let him go and not even allow him to register as a sex offender. Like, unheard of.
Don't tell you about homosexuality. Despite what you've been told and what you may have heard, homosexuality has a divine purpose on earth. Homosexuality is actually common all throughout nature. It is very natural. It is a homophobia in humanity that's not natural. In indigenous times, these beings were revered, looked at as gods and goddesses, because they were understood to have brought a divine message to a community. These beings aren't to be outcasted. These beings are to be worshipped. These beings came here to help us. The homosexual spirit is here on earth because there's an imbalance between masculine and feminine energy. These beings came to help restore that. Make sure y'all follow for more. Reflected light from the Most High, Chief, 3 God. Peace to the gods. I love.
Okay. I don't know why he had the definition oracle in the background when he was basically describing homosexuals as beings to be worshipped. I think that's a huge misconception and also very misleading. No specific sect of humanity should be worshipped or deemed higher than others. We're all human. We're all imperfect. And, you know, another thing too is I'm not a huge Christian, I'm not a huge religious person, but I do think when people challenge Christianity and they're like, well, why did God make gay people? He gave them a choice, just like he gave Adam and Eve a choice in the Garden of Eden. I just think it's really misleading for this guy to be saying this stuff. I mean, yes, there are homosexual chances found out in nature, yes. There's nothing wrong with it. I personally see nothing wrong with someone dating the same sex as them. I just think this is highly irresponsible to put this on TikTok, and being that there's a lot of children on that app, I don't know. I just think it's kind of ridiculous. Let's continue.
That the Democratic Party is the founders of the KKK. They were the ones who enslaved us. That they have everyone. I mean, black people don't even know that every civil rights legislation in this country was given to us, authored and supported by Republicans and not Democrats, even up until the 90s. Why do you think one gives you all the government assistance and one don't? Because one of them is a slave master taking care of their slaves. Which one is that? The Democratic Party. Hey, we need more government programs. Give them stimulus checks, give them Medicare, give them... Why do you think they keep giving? They're taking care of their slaves and keeping you on the plantation.
I think Charleston White is very invaluable to the Black community. I think he has a very strong voice, and I think a lot of the things he says is on point. The only thing I did find, however, or inaccurate is, and don't get me wrong, I thought this was true as well, is that the Democrats, they did not found the KKK. However, they did play a major part in their inception, if that makes sense. I found an article, I'll pop it up here, and it says the Democratic Party did majorly contribute to the Civil War and the KKK's founding, which in my opinion is pretty damning. They may not have founded the KKK, but to support it, because a lot of Democrats do have a big denial about that. And another thing that he said is that they're basically appealing, that the Democratic Party is appealing to the Blacks and, you know, the people of color, because they want to keep them on government assistance. They want to keep them on the government's teat. And I totally agree with that. Not only are they appealing to people of color, but they're also appealing to migrants, people coming from Venezuela, you know, out of the country, because once they get here and they support them, you know whose vote they're going to get? They're going to vote Democrat. I'm really torn on the whole politics thing. Like, I guess if it came down to it, I would probably lean more conservative, but I do see the politics for what it is, and I feel like it's very, very divisive. I think as a country, we need to put our differences aside and come together, because it's falling apart. The whole world is falling apart, and we need to figure it out, because us fighting all day is not fixing things. That's just my take on it.
Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire.
Hush up, boy.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
I mean, you got the first sort of mainstream African American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
Yeah. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. They must be taken off the street.
Young black entrepreneurs are just as capable of succeeding given the chance as white entrepreneurs are. But they don't have lawyers, they don't have accountants, but they have great ideas.
To me, he was a friend, he was a mentor, and he was a guy.
He worked with segregationists. He worked with a former classman to stop integration of public schools and busing. He worried that children would go to public schools that are, quote, in his words, a racial jungle. His mentor in the U.S. Senate was a former classman.
Wow. I have heard the racial jungle joke that he made, but I just think that this is what people need to see when, like, all the Biden supporters, like, especially my dad, who is, like, you know, he's very, very much a Democrat, and he's very hard to talk out of that. But he was talking about Obama when he was saying, "Oh, that's a storybook, man." Like it's unlikely or unheard of for a black man to be clean and well spoken. That is racist. That is crazy. And then they say that Trump is racist, and yet you cannot find one single thing that has ever been said like this guy. And he has multiple sayings like this. I just think the clip is unbelievable.
Excuse me. Could I maybe get that headset, please?
Do not raise your voice to me, sir.
I wasn't raising my voice.
Okay, just calm down.
I am calm. I just want my headset.
Sir, our country is going through a very difficult time right now, and if you're not going to cooperate...
I don't know where a headset ties into patriotism.
Is there a problem here, sir?
I don't think so.
Can you come to the back of the plane with me so we can have a talk?
But talk about what? There's not a problem. The stewardess just keeps...
Flight attendant.
The flight attendant keeps ignoring me when I ask...
Calm down.
I am calm. What is it with you people?
You people?
Oh, now wait a minute. I don't mean you people. I mean you people.
Sir, I will not tolerate any racist behavior on the plane. This is a very difficult time for our country.
I know that. I'm not a racist. I just want to watch the movie.
I'm only going to say this one more time, sir. Calm down.
I'm calm!
Alright guys, that is the video. That is what I got for you today. Please stay tuned. This video is actually late. I was supposed to upload it last night, but, you know, life. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Please subscribe.